I was going back through topics that I haven't covered on PopCross Studios in a while that I know you all like and I really like working with, and I realized it's been over 4 months or something since I did anything with Godzilla Monsters. So I decided to dig out an idea that a bunch of people had suggested a while back and turn Godzilla Monsters into dragons. I'd avoided it originally because lots of Godzilla monsters either are dragons or just look a lot like dragons. But when I actually sat down and thought about it, I realized there are lots of awesome kaiju designs that could be adapted into really interesting fantasy-style dragons. Plus, the idea of turning Shin Godzilla into some kind of fantasy dragon was really lodged in my brain, and I really wanted to take a crack at that. Let's just get into it, shall we? Let's go. Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. Over the course of my time studying beasts, monsters, and of course dragons, I've come across many menacing creatures, but few compare to some of the brutes I've found myself observing and researching in my time in the mountains and valleys of Japan. Well, of course, I've already told you about the morphing chiselbeak and scorched blue breath, who often ravage the Japanese landscape, but even those creatures will think twice before treading too close to some of the dragons we'll discuss today. The first creature is one of the most horrifying dragons I've come across in my travels. Its scent alone will likely be forever burned into my mind. The smogging Hedorah is a creature that appears to be made of a slimy black goop, looking somewhat similar to the shambling slime drake, but more opaque and somehow even more vicious looking. These creatures evolve in a somewhat similar way to frogs, but with more stages as they grow. They begin their life near the shores along the Japanese coast as large tadpole-like forms, starting out only about 10 feet long. They grow to around 25 feet before sprouting arms and legs and coming up onto land. They'll then find their way to the nearest active volcano to spend a few weeks breathing in volcanic fumes. This seems to act as a form of nutrients for these creatures to help them grow larger and larger until they sprout their wings and reach what the locals refer to as their perfect form. It strikes me as an odd way to refer to such horrific looking beasts, but my job is to chronicle, not to judge. At full size, these creatures continue to reside near active volcanoes to continue absorbing smoke, and they will viciously attack any creatures that get too close to them or their homes. Like many dragons, these beasts do have projectile attacks, but instead of breathing fire or lightning, they can both spit nauseous gases from their bodies to render foes with weaker constitutions unconscious, or even spit globs of their own body, which sticks to opponents and can significantly hinder movement. It's still unclear what exactly the structure of their bodies is, since as soon as they die, their own flesh seems to dissolve and devour itself. I can't say I'm eager to study these creatures further in person due to their stench and rather unnerving appearance, but I'll be sure to update my notes in the future if other local researchers find out more about the beast's biology. Now, speaking about creatures with the ability to evolve brings me to another beast whose appearance may not be quite as unsettling as the prior dragon, but it's certainly not calming to regard. The monolithic Shin God is often cited as being a deity of death and destruction, and while their alleged godliness is an exaggeration, they are one of the most powerful species of dragons known to humanity today. Like the Hedorah, these beasts will emerge from the ocean onto Japanese lands as smaller versions of themselves with no front arms and small nubs where their wings will eventually grow. As they get larger and larger, their arms and wings will grow and their tails stretch to over 100 feet long, which is nearly twice as long as the rest of their bodies. They'll also form what resembles a second mouth on the ends of their tails, and while they haven't shown the ability to consume sustenance from this mouth, they can use it to bite and grab foes in battle, as well as emit a second burst of their most dangerous attack. That attack I refer to, one which they can only use once fully grown, is a beam-like ray of purple flames. They can also breathe a smoky orange flame more similar to common dragons, but once concentrated, this blast changes hue and becomes one of the most deadly projectile attacks I've ever seen from a dragon. It's able to carve through mountains and torch entire forests and villages in an instant. I also heard some stories from locals about how these creatures could shoot those same beams from the dorsal plates on their backs, but if this is an ability they have, it's a much more uncommon one for them to use. Luckily, if the beasts use this concentrated beam too much, they'll then slip into a hibernative state and remain frozen in place until they recover. It's believed that they're resetting their internal temperature, but I've been unable to confirm this as the definitive truth. But one of the worst effects of coming anywhere near where one of these creatures is or has been comes from making physical contact with their blood. As they evolve, they secrete large pools of their own blood, and of course, if an opponent manages to injure them or kill them, they'll obviously bleed as well. But their blood is so toxic that it will kill any wildlife it touches, and if a human or small to mid-sized creature makes contact with the blood, they'll likely not live longer than a few days. Luckily, there are creatures in Japan, such as the mighty Ultra Beast and Bald Fist Swinger, that occasionally deal with the monolithic Shin Gods before they can wreak too much havoc. But even with so few of them living on land today, they still manage yearly to take countless human lives. Because I'm really fired up about the art I've been doing in this episode, especially with that Shin Godzilla dragon, I'm not only putting up all of the artwork from this episode as posters on my Teespring store, linked in the little bar beneath this video, but there is also a download link in the description with high-resolution inks and high-resolution finished art of all of the artwork in this episode. Anyone can download it, it's totally free. Go nuts, everybody. But of course, don't open it until the episode's over, because you don't want to get spoiled for the next two drawings, which we can get into now. Let's go. The next creature may not be quite as formidable as the previous beasts we've discussed, but to be fair, the standard has been set rather high today so far. These beasts are still quite vicious and dangerous in their own right, having a massive range of intriguing skills and abilities. The Mega Beetle Skyhopper is a dragon with many similar traits to bugs, such as the Rhinoceros Beetle. Local legends depict these creatures as the deities of a fabled sea colony, but the connection between water dwellers and a very bug-like creature is admittedly lost on me. These creatures have various forms of defense and attack. Noticeable at a glance is their large drill-like protrusions in place of hands at the ends of their arms. These can be incredibly deadly close-range weapons, but their most deadly attack can be utilized at a distance. Like creatures such as the Nordic Thunder Dragon, Mega Beetles are lightning dragons, but instead of breathing lightning from their mouths, they shoot it from the massive horn on their heads. They have also been seen to absorb lightning from storms through those same horns, likely as a way to recharge themselves for future battles. And while lightning is the more common weapon of choice from these creatures, they also have allegedly shown the ability to spit smaller explosive bursts of flame from their mouths that can be just as deadly an attack. I was not able to witness this in my time regarding one of these creatures, but there were enough confirmed cases from locals that I felt compelled to believe the stories. Along with impressive combat capabilities, these creatures also have many interesting ways of getting around. For one, like many dragons, they can fly, but often they elect to move through the air by leaping with their powerful hind legs. Most uniquely, though, is their ability to drill through the ground at rapid speeds, to escape threats into the earth or to surprise foes from beneath. And these dragons are in fact rare enough that they may have even more skills and abilities than what I've discussed today. I'd like to research them further, but like many of the creatures I've talked about today, they're quite difficult to get close to without losing your life. But regardless, as you can now tell, while they appear to be a fairly simple breed of dragon and insect on the outside, these creatures are one of the most diversely skilled combatants in the draconic animal kingdom. Now the final creature for today is a tricky one to classify because it resembles other species I've studied and can vary quite significantly within its own species. The Orga Titan Claw is a creature who seems able to absorb traits from other dragons and creatures by biting them. One that I was personally able to study had bitten into a monolithic Shin God and been able to escape when its foe went into a state of hibernation from overusing its flames. Within a week, the Titan Claw's hide had shifted in hue and texture to resemble that of the Shin God. This can make it quite difficult to determine if a creature being witnessed is indeed a Titan Claw, but they have a distinguishing feature that makes it fairly clear if they're a part of the species, that being their titanic claws. These beasts have 3-fingered claws so large that it's shocking they can even remain upright. They use these as their primary source of attack, but like so many other of the dragons today, these beasts have a myriad of assault options. Their primary form of ranged attack is a bright yellow cannon of flame that can be shot from not their mouths, but from openings on their shoulder plates. Alternatively, from their mouths, they can spit clumps of green goop that are effective at slowing opponents, similarly to the goop-based attacks from the smogging Hedorah. With all these attack options, these creatures are very adept at rendering their foes dead or at least unconscious, and oftentimes once defeating their prey, they will unhinge their jaws like a snake to swallow their victims whole. Their stomach acids are able to fairly quickly break down matter for digestion, so they can devour prey that's nearly as large as themselves, though they will be significantly slowed for the time that they are digesting. But assault and adaptability are not their only assets in battle. They also have the ability to heal at an incredibly rapid rate. Like the death-proof Razortail, they can regenerate full limbs if given enough time, making them very difficult to incapacitate for extended periods, and much more difficult to kill. Once more, local legends have something to say about these creatures in that they were magically summoned into existence by warlocks, who made the creature as a way to defeat beasts like the monolithic Shin God. But more likely is that they're a distant off-breed evolution with similar origins to those creatures. Though, to be fair, I have been proven wrong before. And there we have Godzilla Monsters as dragons. Definitely open to doing another round of this, but also give me other ideas for things to do with Godzilla Monsters in the comments. And let me know what Godzilla Monsters you want me to work with that I haven't worked with before. I don't think I've ever done anything with Destroya or Gamera, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ones that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But if you're new to the channel and you love Godzilla stuff, check out some of my other Godzilla episodes, like my Godzilla Monsters as Transformers, or Venomized, or Godzilla vs. Kong Superheroes. But besides that, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdy start videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Friday, which probably has the best title of any PopCross Studios episode: Biomech Benny Sharp Escapes from the Infinite IKEA. Enjoy thinking about what that might be. See you then.